Poetry Changes Lives, my book of poetry, history and a thought for the day. Well, today I'm talking about a very great, fascinating American writer and poet, Ralph Waldo Emerson, who was born in 1803 in America, of course. He's known today as the leader of the Romantic movement. He was a fascinating man. Among other things, he was a Harvard professor, and it was said that students used to fight to get a place at his lectures because they were so interesting and stimulating. And I think his conversation must have been too. He wrote some beautiful poetry, really inspirational, and the imagery in it and the thoughts behind it are just so right and beautiful and deep, profound, I find. I really, really admire his writing. Among other poems, he wrote the Concord Hymn that features on the Concord Monument, of course, the start of the American War of Independence, 1776. Here we are, it begins, by the rude bridge that arched the flood, their flag to April's breeze unfurled. Here once the embattled farmers stood, and fired the shot heard round the world. My goodness me, that shot was heard round the world. The British couldn't believe it that these upstarts in America had rebelled against the rule of King George. My goodness, well, they got a big shock, and the Americans showed them a thing or two. Well, Emerson was a pastor, and he was very pro-American independence, of course, but he was not eventually very keen on organized religion, and he kind of gave up his religious work in favor of what was called Transcendentalism, which is a movement he was instrumental in starting that's very much given to universal spirituality, the idea that we live in a joined up universe and there is a power for good and a power for bad in the world, and there's so much we don't know, but we should simply marvel in the power that we find in the universe that comes through to our everyday life. And he wrote a lot about this. He wrote some beautiful poetry about it. This poem called Brahma that I'm going to read is one of, to me, the most stunningly wonderful poems of the last 200 years. And I absolutely love the imagery, the thought behind it, and just the way the words are put together, the way it flows. See what you think of this. Brahma. If the red slayer think he slays, or if the slain think he is slain, they know not well the subtle ways I keep and pass and turn again. Far or forgot, to me is near. Shadow and sunlight are the same. The vanished gods to me appear, and one to me are shame and fame. They reckon ill who leave me out. When me they fly, I am the wings. I am the doubter and the doubt, and I the hymn the Brahmin sings. The strong gods pine for my abode, and pine in vain the sacred seven. But thou, meek lover of the good, find me and turn thy back on heaven. I just love that voice of Brahma, the sort of voice, the power of good in the world, so full of paradox, yet so deep and powerful. I love Emerson's writing. He's one of that poem is one of my all-time favorites. Today, I will remember that the truth is not always readily apparent, but can be found with perseverance. Thank you for listening.